Hello and welcome to the Swan Song Project Podcast. My name is Ben Buddy Slack and I'm the founder of the Swan Song Project and the host of this podcast. The Swan Song Project is a charity based here in England and we help people living with terrible illnesses or dealing with bereavement to write and record an original song. We believe in celebrating lives, making memories and leaving legacies. If you'd like to find out more about the charity, you can check out our website, which is swansongproject.co.uk. The podcast features songwriters. Each episode I have a different guest on. I ask them to share with us one of their songs. We talk about how they wrote it. I ask them to share a songwriting tip. And I also ask them to share a song that's meaningful to them in some way related to bereavement. This episode features Bex Marshall. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, today I'm here with Bex Marshall. Thanks for joining me, Bex.
Well, my pleasure. Lovely to be with you.
Yeah, really looking forward to talking some songwriting with you. So this is the Swan Song Project Podcast. If you're new to the podcast, each episode I have a different songwriter on and I ask them to share with us one of their songs. We talk about how they wrote it. I ask them to share a songwriting tip and I also ask them to share a song that's meaningful to them in some way relating to bereavement. So Bex, what song of yours have you chosen to talk to us about today?
I've chosen the title track of my second record, Kitchen Table. And yeah, it's all about a kitchen table.
Solid as a rock, but not made of stone. Wherever I've been, it's part of my home. Feeds the family, sees my spills. Kitchen table, reads all my bills. Candle wax and the lacquer's cracked. How am I gonna pay this back? Oh. I turn the front page news in my morning haze. Too much booze, drunken rage. Sex, drugs, rock and roll. Kitchen table, fly on the wall. Coffee stains like muddy rains. Pussycats think they're on stage. Oh, get off. So pull up a seat. Why don't you stay a while? Kitchen table, old-fashioned style. Can you stand the heat? Or are you gonna run a mile? Are you staying to eat? Or do you just wanna sit and cry? Now the kids wanna paint new Van Gogh. Past granddad's plate, pat him if he starts to cough. Kitchen table, where it all starts. Wedding plans, broken heart. Jacket sleeve, hey, that ain't fair. Sit still while I cut your hair. kitchen table, kitchen table.
Okay, brilliant. So that was Kitchen Table by Bex Marshall. Yeah, it's a great song. What can you tell us about writing it?
Well, I mean, there's always, it's always good to have a sort of a double side to when you write a song. It's actually about a piece of furniture, but it's not. So, basically, all the memories that are created in your life around your kitchen table, your daily grind from breakfast to the last thing at night. And so that's a reflection of life. And I think if you can grab those moments, I mean, the great thing with songwriting is you can take a moment and write a whole song about it, or you can take a period of a whole lifetime and write a song about it. And so it's all about the perspective. And that's an exciting sort of thing to think about when you're writing a song. But Kitchen Table, as you look at the kitchen table, you see the war wounds of life in it. And so every sort of dent or every sort of grain of rice that's stuck in the grooves or whatever, cat hair to bloody, wax from a candle, you can probably have a memory associated with that. And that's really what I was trying to incorporate into 3 verses. So it lines in a song, for me, they have to be as descriptive as possible. And so I try and kind of make them simple. And that's something that you should always remember about songwriting is, yes, the wordy songs can work, but it's always, I think, much nicer to choose your words really carefully, and use the descriptive sort of the creative descriptive words more than the ifs and buts and those. So that's my tip really, is to sort of keep it simple, go through the songs afterwards and cut away the deadwood, as it were. But yeah, to say Kitchen Table, is a reflection of pretty much everybody sits around their kitchen table, and you have your ups and your downs and your highs and your lows, your meals, your drinks, your laughs and your tears. So that's pretty much where it comes from.
Yeah, so it's a good observation. Like say songs, like part of a songwriter's job is spotting those things that you can base a song around, whether it's like say like a small moment or an item that plays a particular role or the whole lifetime. But yeah, it's a good one because it is something that's so relatable, and all the different situations. Everyone has a table that they sit around, don't they? And
they're very similar. I mean, everybody has their breakfast, everybody has their last sort of drink, and the dramas of life. They kind of happen around that sort of that area. That kitchen table is sort of brings the whole family together. Yeah,
definitely. Was there a particular thing what sparked the idea of doing that song? Was that you remember?
It actually, I vividly remember looking down at my kitchen table and looking at the grooves and seeing, thinking, Christ, this table needs a bloody good clean. It's my kitchen table is actually out in the Dodgy Fox area now. It's it belonged to my late husband Barry, and he had it for many, many, many years. And I was looking at it thinking, we had cats at the time, and there was a cat hair sort of on the table where they jump on it, and there was, I don't know, some sort of like salt and pepper or something where it spilled, and I just thought, God, and I thought, but every little thing on this kitchen table, the scratches to the lacquers being sort of rubbed and whatever, all relates back to something. And that's really what got me thinking about, this is a great basis to write a song about. And so, I kind of try to think of all the things that had actually happened around that kitchen table at the time, and that had happened years before, and and then tried to pinpoint those kind of memories, and reflect the moments in all the different possible sort of emotions that go with those moments. So, you know, when you have real laugh around the table, or when you're trying to, you know, the cat jumps on it, for example, and you go, get off, you know, and those kind of moments where it all happens in this area. You know, you have a fight around the kitchen table with someone, or, you know, and basically, you know, piecing those moments together was the fun of making the song. And of course, I could have written, you know, oodles of verses, really. I mean, and everybody can, because, you know, you think about what happens around your own kitchen table. And I mean, you know, the live version is quite racy, because, you know, it ends up, you know, someone having sex on the kitchen table, which is always fun to throw into a live performance of it. And then it gets quite psychedelic at the end, you know, but that's entertainment.
Yeah, no, it's cool. So was that the process you went through writing it? Like what you said there about you, did you like make a list of the different things that went on there, and then the different emotions that accompanied them? Was that what you said? I
didn't kind of make a list, but I did obviously, you know, sit and write. And, you know, the writing procedure for myself is different every time. Obviously the sparks of where the ideas come from, you know, but, you know, yes, you do have to start writing ideas down on a page, and you keep rewriting them until they start forming some sort of, you know, base and how, and I always get a sort of a very positive sort of vibe when you know, when the rhymes are locking in. And it's just funny, because I never really think, oh, I'm going to write it in this format, you know. I kind of, it's very much like just open your mind and let it flow, you know.
By format, do you mean like you don't like set a rhyme scheme or thing beforehand?
That's
or
right, like a rhyme scheme, or like, will there be an actual chorus of, you know, or a pre-chorus, or that, and that all just comes, you know, as you attend it, as you sort of, you know, develop it. And, you know, do you feel like it needs it? Is it an upbeat track? Is it a downbeat track? How do you feel? You know, a lot of love songs tend to be sort of slow, but, you know, then you think, well, what if I put like a rockabilly beat behind it and sing that love song like an upbeat thing? So you got to kind of decide at some point where that, what that's, you know, that sort of track is going to be. Is it going to be a funky song? Is it going to be a ballad? And that normally for me comes from some sort of inspiration, whether it's another song that I've been listening to, but that could be a really old song, or it could be like a brand new artist I've seen, and I thought, oh, I love that vibe, and it may inspire me to create a song in that image. So I think that's important, you know, to take from people, but obviously, you know, to a degree where it's not plagiarism, it's actually your take on it and your reflection of how that they've, you know, inspired you to create a song. So, you know, I mean, choruses are great. You know, people say, oh, there's no chorus. Well, there doesn't have to be a chorus, you know. And a lot of my things don't have sort of choruses per se. But then I think, oh, I'm going to write a chorus for this one, or whatever. And so it's all about just, you know, throwing it in the pot and seeing what's going to happen. But always going with your gut reaction. I think people that go with their gut reaction in general tend to be good songwriters. You know, you can't really stick to some format every time. That's what the whole point of songwriting, the talent of songwriting, is being creative and you know, throwing something out there. I mean, you know, I'm in that sort of, again, I tend to be put in, oh, I love blues. I mean, I love blues, but the blues is in all my songs somewhere. They're not all 12 bars by any means. And so I tend to try and keep I'm a singer and a guitarist. So piecing my talents together in regards to voice and guitar playing, I can I always, you know, touch base with the blues at some point in my songs, because I like to push the boundaries of it. And, you know, you could listen to 2 or 3 of my songs and think, God, that's really bluesy. And basically, you know, that's my prerogative to do that. But I just think at the end of the day, you need to be true to yourself and your own creativity, and not worry too much about trying to write the next hit. Just write from your heart, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, I think with where Kitchen Table is concerned, I basically thought of, you know, I try to touch base with all the elements of emotion that can happen around the kitchen table. And also there's a moment in a song, I think, when you get to a moment where it's either going to make you cry or laugh, or you feel that sort of like buzz inside you, think, yeah, that's good, that's a killer. You know, that's a killer. And then you just work on it, and you've got to hone it up, and you've got to get the band round, and you've got to work it and get the melodies and the, you know, the feel of it. It's all about feel. Good song as well, you know, get the feel, get the lyrics and the feel matching, you know, get them strong, get them working at the right moments.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for me to explain it in a sort of you know, textbook way, because I do a lot. Well, my whole life is based around my gut reaction and gut instincts.
Yeah.
And I'm not that good at technically sort of explaining things, but I kind of know if it works.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, you've done a great job there, Bex. It's all been really interesting.
Thanks.
One of the things that, well, and it's one of those things, isn't it, where like having these kind of conversations where it's kind of in depth, you know, looking at the process in that way, it can be really difficult to put it into words. I really like what you said about not, you know, like taking influences, you know, like blues being the example you use, but not feeling bound by the traditions in a way, like, you know, being influenced by them, but not restricted by them, which is something that, you know, I think is quite common for people who think, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna be a blues songwriter, so that means I need to write about these things or write in this format. Whereas, as you say, there's lots of, you can take your inspiration, but then you can take it in whatever direction, use whatever combinations of stuff you want. The question I was going to ask you, which might be a tricky question to answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. In terms of, you know, talking about this gut reaction and the feeling of when you're onto something, is there anything you can say about that? About, like, you know, when you, because I think that's probably another skill that songwriters get better at, is knowing when something's clicking, you know, like, and if there's anything that, like, is it just a feeling? And if so, what's the feeling like? Or is there anything else that goes into it when you know, when you feel like something's clicking?
For me, I either want to cry, or I want to laugh, or I want to, you know, it evokes, a song should evoke feeling, emotion. You know, it makes you want to do something, makes maybe want jump up and down and start dancing, you know. That's the magic of a song, you know. And it's the combining the lyrics, the words are so powerful, and when you match them with the right you know, melody or progression, chord progression, you know, it hits you. I mean, it hits you like a mallet, and that really is, you know, the holy grail. If you can get to that moment, you'll know, because it'll hit you like a mallet when you start playing it and practicing it and learning it. Because people go, oh, you know, you wrote that song, how can you forget it? How can you? Well, you've got to learn it, not just writing a load of words down. It's piecing it together, it's getting the timings right, you know, and those pauses and those, you know, the quirks in a song really either push it into another level, you know, and then you know, you have a creative sort of moment where it does make it original, and that's exciting. And that kind of comes from years of listening to great artists, great bands, you know, you find a lot of really great musicians start very early, as soon as their ears start working and they start listening to music. It's not, oh, you know, I think I'm going to become a songwriter, so what do I need to do? I'm going to listen to some music. It's a natural pull. And I know when I was 9 years old, I would fight tooth and nail to get into my uncle's album collection, you know, on a Sunday afternoon when he was out, and I'd be like, you know, I was hungry. I was so hungry to hear these different bands, you know, this real unrivaled and, you know, unsuppressed, brilliant music, rock and roll, blues, country, you know, melodies, stories. Wow, it's just like it's the ultimate playground. And, you know, seeing these artists like Elton John's, you know, it's the album Mr. Fantastic with his big glasses on and all that. It was just like the ultimate storybook for a 9-year-old, you know. And I think it's brilliant. And you never lose that. You never lose the being, you know, being interested, inquisitive about bands, finding new bands, listening to new music, because it's infinite. And that is the degree. You have a lifetime degree. You never stop learning music. You never stop thinking, God, you know, that was amazing. Yeah. And there's always a voice, you know, that for me, again, you know, the voice sends shudders down your backbone, you know, makes you think, oh God, that's heartbreaking. Or Patty Griffin, for example, for me, that's one of the best vocalists on the planet. You know what? The first time I ever heard her perform, I burst into tears. I don't even know what she was singing about, but her tone of voice and the way she achingly delivered her songs is just phenomenal. It's just like unique, incredible talent. And see, you know, when you find artists like that, that's what it's all about. It's like, you know, she can provoke the most amazing emotion in people. Her albums, A Thousand Kisses, are just phenomenal. And then you've got people like Howlin' Wolf that, wow, you know, again, it's just, you know, Janis Joplin to Aretha Franklin and. But then you've got, you know, Mick Jagger, who's not the best vocalist in the world, but he's delivering great lyrics, and it's gritty and it's, you know, charismatic. And so it's all about, you know, the whole sort of melting pot of rock and roll. And then, you know, you have to find your own delivery, you have to find your own voice and your own messages, you know. So it's it's a constant growth.
Yeah, it is just amazing when you talk about it like that, and you know, all the different elements that go into it all. And one of the things that I always love about, you know, that because there is room for everything in it, isn't there? You know, like you don't have to like all music. So like whatever music people make, it has its space, you know, and you know, it's that never-ending journey of finding new artists and finding, you know, new ways of things being expressed and communicated. And then also what you know, you kind of alluded to there, you know, you can find a great artist on record, and then when you see them live, it can be another level to the experience when the songs, you know, are sung in a live environment.
Yes, indeed.
That was something I was going to ask you about Kitchen Table as well. Like you mentioned having the racy extra verse that you do live. Was that something like, do you let the songs, do they often evolve when you play them live, or was that something that you wrote originally? Yeah. Well,
that's it. I mean, you know, it's like any artist, you never finish your work, you just abandon it. And, you know, when I'm on stage, sometimes I'm very much a free spirit on stage, and the band know that with me. That's why they have to watch me like a hawk, because I never know what I'm going to do on stage. And it's not a question of not being rehearsed or, you know, not, you know, but again, once you've got a hot band and the musicians are tight and they're great musicians, and, you know, it's not about performing the song 3.5 minutes long. It's about taking that song, and sometimes, you feel like you want to stretch it out, and so you do, and then it's a whole different unsaid ride of fantastic live performance, and that happens sometimes. So I like to ad lib on stage. I like to sort of bring the band down to a very low backing, and I like to talk to the audience, and I may scat or I may do something, I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's all about spur of the moment performance is exciting. The audience love it. If you're enjoying yourself, they're enjoying themselves, and that's the great thing about live performance. I mean, you couldn't do it in the Albert Hall really, because it would be like a massive the pressure of some shows is just like, just get the show done and get up. But again, those moments of super talented people on stage together, and it's almost like, because you've got this sort of great safety net, so you can actually be free to perform, and then it's all about controlling the energy of the room, and and getting it to the highest possible frenzy you possibly can. And it's all about dynamics. Again, it's another sort of chapter when you're talking about live performance of a song. And so the extra verse, it's actually more of a sort of a very loose sort of scatty kind of verse, and it talks about you can come back to my place and we can sit around the kitchen table and you can do whatever you want around my kitchen table. You can fall asleep, you can kick the shoes off your feet, you can have something to eat, or you can sit and weep, and then and then it's in blues as well, it's always a message of it's blues because it's it's talking about sadness, but there's the great thing with blues is that normally at the end of the blues song there's a there's a a shining light, there's a redemption moment where everything's going to be okay, and I think then it sort of it goes on to say, well, you can't sit and weep forever, you've got to get up and dance, and then get up and dance on your table, on your kitchen table, get up and dance, take all your clothes off, and it goes on. the rest is history. And then it goes into a psychedelic outro, which is bringing people on a journey, and every song's a journey, every song's a story. So
yeah, brilliant. Yeah, thanks for that, Vex. That's been really interesting. Let's move into section 2 now, shall we? So I think you might have alluded to your tip earlier on. This is where I always ask my guests for a songwriting tip. So what would your tip be for us, Vex?
Well, I mean, always be true to the song. I mean, the song's the number one thing. Be honest as you can in a song. I mean, this particular song we're talking about now, Barry's song, obviously very dear to my heart, very emotional for me. But I wrote it as a gift for my late husband, Barry, before we got married. And I thought, it would be cheekily performed on our wedding day with me in my wedding dress, my leather wedding dress, because we got married in Texas. And it was 90 degrees, so that was a mistake. No, it was a fantastic moment where I actually got up and played this to him. He had no idea that I'd written it. And again, this is another typical example of it's a good song, because I bawled my eyes out several times trying to write it, knowing the impact of these words, which would, on our wedding day, which would be performed. So that was kind of like a powerful tune, and that was performed on the back porch of the Dabs Hotel in Llano, Texas. Just me, an acoustic guitar in my white leather wedding dress. So it's pretty, it's pretty an amazing sort of first outing. And because I wrote it and I thought this is just for our wedding day. This is never going to be, released or recorded. It actually turned out to be one of the most requested songs ever. And in the end, I thought, you know what, it's a great song. Just record it and get it on the album. And so, I did. And that's, that's the story of that one. But again, it's really coming from the heart. If you can bring things from the heart, and be as honest in your view of the subject matter you're writing about, I think you've got a good chance of it becoming an interesting song, and people are going to want to hear it.
Yeah, that's really good. And so, we'll talk a bit more about Barry's song in a moment, and the listeners will get a chance to hear it as well. But yes, about being honest in your songs, and it's funny what you said there about something what I've heard other people say as well. Like writing a song that they wrote not planning to release, turns out to be one of the most popular songs.
Yeah,
it's a funny kind of thing, isn't it? So I guess whether not like say trying to write from the heart and write honestly rather than writing what you think people want to hear.
That's right. Yes. I mean, don't ever think that you can write a hit, because look at the hits over the years. It's, you never know what's going to happen to that song, or somebody else could pick it up and and make a hit from it. So it's just, my advice is just keep writing. Don't think, oh, I've got to write a hit tomorrow or whatever. Just write. You can write 3 songs a day, you can write 10 songs a day, you can write 1 song a month, doesn't matter. Just keep writing to your speed. I mean, I do a writing retreat in North Cyprus twice a year. And my whole sort of vision of that, and the way I plan it, is that people put their lives for a whole week in my hands, and I see to it that they have as much inspiration and interaction with other great musicians, and jamming sessions and all that sort of thing, to inspire you, to inspire the people to write. There's a lot of time people don't write as much as they want to because of the time restrictions on life, but I write a lot of songs on airplanes or buses and stuff, and that's quiet time where I can just focus on writing. And so a writing retreat should be about that quiet time where you can just sit and write, but you need inspiration. You can be on your own on lockdown and think, I don't know what to write about. Oh, you got lockdown to write about, whatever. But it can be anything that comes to your mind, that you feel strongly enough that you want to write about. It can be seeing a donkey walking down the street to a breakup of a marriage. So it's, whatever you think, oh, that's a great song, I'm going to write. Or phrasing. I mean, you listen to anybody's conversation, you can pick out 10 phrases in a conversation that could be a line in a track that would fit nicely, which roll off the tongue, that could evoke some sort of emotion. So if you're in songwriting mode, things come out of people's mouths, you think that's a title of a track, that could be in a song. Write it down, and you don't have to write a song there and then, but there'll be a moment where I call them cobbling sessions, where you cobble together everything that you've sort of written down, or little riffs that you've come up with while you're just practicing. And I always record those little riffs, because if it's a cool little riff, that could be the start of a song. And once I've got some lyrics together, bang, that's another one done. So I think it's a lot to kind of take on board, because you have to keep reminding yourself to do it. But over a period of time, I think if you've got an interest to write, then you'll start doing it, and it's only a matter of time before you've got enough fodder to sort of sit down and create, and start molding out your hit song, as it were. And then when you start playing it, There's another telltale sign. If you enjoy playing it, actually, this is my new song. You get excited about it. It's developing. When the band start playing it, if the drummer says, "I'm loving that," I love that song. I love it because it's brand new. He's got his new sort of, grooves on it, and he can't get enough of it. It's everyone around you will start loving it if it's a good song. And so that's another sort of telltale sign. Or if it's not working and it falls apart and you think, oh no, we have to rework it, put it to one side and come back to it at a later date when you need some more lyrics or something like that, or chop it up and start again. But I think when it's born, and it may need a little bit of help to sort of get shaped. But some people bang them out and, oh yeah, that I wrote that in 5 minutes, great, marvelous. But a lot of people don't. Some of my songs, I'm still tweaking the lyrics, or I'm still tweaking, I was about that, maybe it needs a mid-8, maybe it needs this, but when it's time to abandon it, you kind of know.
Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. Sorry for the interruption. Just want to drop a quick note in here to say that the Swan Song Project is a registered charity. If you're enjoying this podcast and you'd like to consider supporting us, there are several ways you can donate through the website. It all goes towards supporting more people living with terminal illnesses to write and record their original songs. If you'd also like to show your support for the podcast, we always appreciate any reviews you can leave us. Likes, shares, subscribes, all that kind of business. Always really helps. So if you'd like to do any of that, it's really much appreciated. Hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast. Brilliant. Let's move into section 3 now, shall we? This is where I ask my guests to share with us a song that's meaningful to them in some way related to bereavement. So you've already talked about the song briefly, but do you want to just introduce it for us now and the listeners can hear it?
Yeah, this is Barry's Song by Bex Marshall.
Beautiful man, sentimental soul, a gentleman cowboy, badass rock and roll. Spends his life on the borderline. He's a gunner at heart. He keeps it all ticking over. He hates the clock alone. He says, I've never been so drawn to jamming on the porch. Let's cut away the deadwood, baby. Throw away the porn. 'Cause Barry is the one I do declare. Barry is the one I swear. Barry is the one we've come a long, long way. Barry is the one I'm gonna marry one day. Marlboro Man silhouette. He loves everyone he's met. First things first though, coffee, cigarette. He's like a rhino on the radio. He misses his mom. His voice is spoken. His voice is sung. He says, you know what, babe, I'm a lucky man. Well, I'm never gonna bet him in a poker hand. Now he thinks he's having all the fun. Well, I know I'm the lucky one. 'Cause Barry is the one I do declare. Barry is the one I swear. Barry is the one we've come a long, long way. Barry is the one I'm gonna marry one day. And the first time I saw him naked, he wore nothing but a pair of cowboy boots. He's a passionate guy, oh my, he loves Americana roots. He's got a small scar on his cheekbone. He's never worn a wedding ring. He's a Scorpio male. His tail's got a sting. love him so. Barry, I'm never gonna let you go. Barry is the one, we've got no regrets. 'Cause now I'm Mrs. Marshall Everett.
Okay, brilliant. So that was Barry's song. Yeah, it's a powerful song. So you told us a bit about it to begin with there, by writing it for your wedding day. And so you surprised Barry with it on the day.
I did, yes. No, it was a wonderful moment. It was actually my gift, my wedding gift to him. And I think, you know, a gift of a song is pretty amazing. I did it. I actually advertised a few years ago that I was going to dedicate some time to, you know, writing songs for people for Christmas presents. And this lady, a good friend of mine now, called Barbara, she contacted me and said, "Oh, you know, we're big fans, you know, of the music that you play." And her husband was actually had very bad Parkinson's, but he was a massive music lover. And I ended up writing a song called Big Man, because he is like 6'8", this guy. Lovely guy, but sadly afflicted with the Parkinson's disease. And you know, we were in contact, myself and Barbara, for I don't know, a couple of weeks. And I said, well, look, you know, it has to really come from you and your experiences with him, and you know, and let's talk about what sort of song you would like me to write. And so we kind of co-wrote this song. I mean, she had never any experience with writing, but we just emailed, and I said, you know, you've got to tell me some information, how you first met, you know. She's going, oh, I don't know, you know. She couldn't tell me anything. I mean, it was like, what, you know. So I was saying, well, you know, what are your likes, what are your dislikes together, what do you do? And then all of a sudden I get this email. It is like 10 pages long. And so like she's unblocked this sort of memory, and then all of a sudden this huge you know, plethora of memories and words and experiences, and it was like very personal. So I was like, wow, okay. So I'm reading it and I'm thinking, okay, well, there's plenty for me to get on with here. And then there's this moment when she said, oh, this is our first date. She said she said he was a massive Oxford United football fan. She said, and so the first date, she said, he invited me around to his apartment, and you know, our first date was us both sitting on the couch watching this videotape of Oxford United Football Club beating QPR in the finals, like 10 years earlier or whatever. And she said, you know, when the football match was over, you know, when the goals were going in, he was in tears, you know. And I thought, wow, that was an amazing first date for them. Anyway, so that, and it made me laugh, because I thought that's it's really funny that's the first date. So I made the chorus out of that. And this is just an example, but and the words are, hey John, remember the start, 1986, OUFC QPR. You still shed a tear, that's who you are, the biggest man with the biggest heart. And so that was the chorus. But I kind of like the OUFC QPR, Oxford United Football Club and QPR. That's how you would see it on the telly, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's never been recorded, although Big Man is an instrumental on the House of Mercy album. But another sort of, you know, a quirky way to write a song, you know. I don't co-write with people. I like to kind of do the whole thing myself. It's not to say that I wouldn't, or I couldn't, but I always find when I sit down with people, they start writing it and then they carry on, and I don't actually need to be involved to a degree, because people get so excited about writing it and they go, well, you've done it. It sounds great. But I think a lot of people, they like to write lyrics and they got no clue about the melody lines or whatever, or the chords, and then there's musicians that can't think of the words, so those are great partnerships.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's the Bernie Taupin and Elton John sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Which is great, and so it's great to be able to hook people up together that have a sort of a click and a spark on the writing retreat. But the North Cyprus writing retreat on my Facebook page, if anybody fancies signing up. And I'm going to have some really great songwriters coming and joining me over the next, hopefully over the next couple of years. Next year we've got Darby Slick coming in from California, and he's going to be doing a retreat with us probably next year. And he wrote Somebody to Love, nice. When the truth is found, the Grace Slick version. And he's her brother-in-law, so he's coming over. We're going to do some shows. And I think, he's going to come out and do the writing retreat. He's far out, California hippie. He lives in Hawaii. He's a real, sort of crazy old hippie, great stories, really, a legendary character.
Yeah, sounds great. I'll put all the links in the description as well, so people can check it out if they
do
interested.
Because I get to meet a lot of fantastic songwriters. Ian Siegel, he's coming out to do. So it would be, it's great if people are like big fans who want to come and spend a week writing with these people. It's it's a great new thing that we're going to start doing. So I'm going to have a guest songwriter as well as myself on every, and the hot band. There's always a hot band that's going to be jamming with us a couple of times of the week. So, and at the end of the week you get up and sing your song. We have a big show organized, and people go and air their new songs in front of a pretty big audience. It's a great week.
It sounds really good. Just quickly moving back to Barry's song. So you'd mentioned, I think you alluded to it earlier, so Barry was your husband and sadly died a few years ago, didn't he? So I was just wanting to ask you about how the song feels now, and do you still play it now? And Barry was a big figure on the music scene, wasn't he? I actually had the pleasure of meeting him. He used to do a House of Mercy radio show, didn't he?
Yes, that's right.
That me and the boys went and did a session with him one time.
Okay, great. Well, no, I'm actually in the Snake Pit studio now, where he recorded, and it hasn't changed.
It's amazing space.
Really. It's a tough one. Obviously, it's very emotional for me. But when I wrote that song, every time I played it, he would burst into tears. I mean, he was a soppy old git, and love him dearly. But he did, it always affected him if I played it live. He'd be in tears. He just, and not just him as well. A lot of other people in the audience it would touch, and they would come up and always say, what, that was an amazing song. It really touched them and stuff. And of course, sadly, I don't play it a lot because it upsets me because he's not here anymore, And so, whereas before it was him bursting into tears every time it was played, and now it's me bursting into tears every time it's played. So no, I kind of, it's doable, but it's a tough one.
It's a really well written song. I think you've really captured so much about him, which is what I think is so important when you're doing a song like that. It's it's similar, going back to what we were talking about Kitchen Table, of being aware of those little details, and then all the stories and memories that are linked to them. So it's great. It's really,
and it's also the little things, because the little things are the things that kind of matter. So it's like, just like the scar on his cheek, you know, it's the kind of things that when you're with somebody, you notice those little things that when you put in a song, they become huge.
Yeah.
You know, and it's things that people think, oh yeah, you got this, you got whatever it is about a person that you notice, or that whatever it is about a person that you fall in love with or you remember. That's the things that you've got to sort of highlight in those sort of, you know, emotional songs.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, the country songs are like that. Country songs are, you know, always like the tearjerkers, and they're very descriptive as well. And there's some, you know, phenomenal songwriters that sit in Nashville and bang out these kind of songs all the time. But it's not easy. Yeah, it's not easy. And I think if you do write it from personal experience of whatever, you know, you're you've got to sort of find that, you know, from where it starts, you know, and try and get that into the song as well, get that real feeling of, you know, of where you're coming from with it.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, it's a great song, powerful song, and yeah, a wonderful tribute to a wonderful man.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed, it lives on forever.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks a lot for your time, Bex. It's really nice talking songwriting with you. It's something really interesting.
My pleasure, anytime. You know, there's a lot of songs I could sit and chow about all day long, but, you know, but you know, hey, that's the beauty of songwriting, and that's, you know, I'm really happy to have this, you know, in my life, and to be doing it as a business, you know, as my business, and to be able to impare some sort of, you know, knowledge about doing it. You know, you never know if you're any good until somebody says, oh, you've been nominated for best song of the year, and you think, oh my god, that's fantastic. You know, and you think, well, it must be working. So yeah, but I think, you know, there's so many great musicians and songwriters out there, and you know, it's not a competition. It's just, you know, being part of the whole sort of, you know, entertainment world of, you know, I mean, you know, songwriters can to make you cry, but they can also start a war, you know, they can also start some sort of, you know, rebellion, or, you know, revolt. So, you know, the songs are very important and very powerful. So the songwriters are, you know, there's definitely a place for them. And that brings me back to, you know, the governments not really, you know, looking after their musicians, considering, you know, what the music, without music, where would their ad campaigns and all that kind of thing be? So, but they also very wary of the power of music. So I think, you know, it's a constant battle, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's a good note to finish on anyway. But I'll put all your links in the description, so anyone listening to this wants to check out Bex's music, check out the rest of them albums, check out the songwriting retreat, you can do that. Yeah, thanks a lot, Bex, and thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Thank you so much for having me on. Take care.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, and thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll be back with another episode soon.